So how's Diablo 4 doing? Blizzard's crown jewel. Word on the street is not that great. Not that great.
I used to feel good about myself that I was like playing all the classes multiple times. I'm like, man, I really know this game. And then at some point I just leaned back in my chair and I realized, holy shit, I'm a loser. I'm gonna go play Last Epoch.
How many hundreds?
Dude, Last Epoch, wait a minute. Last Epoch is such a good game. You should try it. I recently talked about it, and turns out they had a graphics update. And that was one of the big things that I said that game needs. And now, well, now it's just absolutely beyond amazing. Last Epoch, at some point, is just gonna blow up. The game is so good. Every class feels unique. The items are interesting. The builds are extremely varied. Again, after my first Necromancer, the second thing I did was make a second Necromancer. And then pretty much we could just say I made a third Necromancer. It's great.
Did you end up making? And now, because I mean, you have been grinding Diablo 4 more and longer than I think anyone else I've seen. Like, you didn't jump ship at all. You sat down every single day and grinded the fuck out of Diablo 4. So how many 100s did you end up with?
I think right now I have 8.5. I wanted 5 on softcore, 5 on hardcore, but I think I have 8.5 right now. I think.
I don't even think you have 10 character slots in Diablo 4, do you? I think it... Isn't the limit 8 or something like that?
My barb is like 70, and then I just need to do I was saving one of the easiest ones for last. I just do the necro, and then I'd have 10, and then I'd have to delete 100 to play season 2.
Oh God, yeah, because we only have 10 character spots, don't we?
Oh,
including seasonal, right?
Yeah. So the goal is to have to delete a 100 to play season.
That's a good video.
Hey, it's completely understandable if you think about it. Because they probably need to load all your character stashes every time you're in the city or something like that. Oh, Blizzard, how are you this incompetent? How are you this stupid?
Video be like, I quit my level 100, deleting my character. There you go. Delete the character. 500 million views, just like that. Rax deletes his character. Got 8.5 level 100s. Okay, so what was the point you started getting bored, but you're like, nah, I want to push through? Because for me, I was starting to get bored, like, by the time I hit my first level 100 druid, and then the Uber Lilith was fun, but it was immediately after Uber Lilith for me. So when I cleared the Uber Lilith, and I was like, okay, well, now it's literally just Nightmare Dungeons. That's when I immediately started getting bored.
I would honestly.
Yeah, that makes sense. If someone's playing real seriously, Uber Lilith at least is the end goal. But after the end goal, well, the only thing you can honestly do is make another character, I guess, and then try to do the same. But that kind of gets repetitive, probably, if there's only one end goal. It helps if you have multiple end goals, but Diablo 4 just doesn't have an end game.
Honestly say for me, it was probably a long time earlier than that. But I play Diablo for really the community. Even when I'm playing SSF, I'm playing to answer questions, talk to chat, have fun, haha, listen to music. So the gaming experience, and this is kind of sad for me for a long time here, has been kind of like a secondary feature. So I wasn't really exactly having a ton of fun in Diablo 4 straight from the beginning because I knew there was nothing to do.
Sure.
The Uber Lilith challenge with a non-exploit one-shotted build, that gave me like 5 days of fun, just getting pounded.
That was actually quite fun. I mean, the Uber... People talk down about the Uber Lilith fight now. I feel like I see comments of like ragging on it, like, oh, it's not that great or whatever. But I just kind of disagree with you. I thought Uber Lilith was the most enjoyable part of Diablo 4 for me.
I mean, the fight isn't fun if you have played... No, Rex has now played Lost Ark, right? I saw a video about that. Everyone's now switching to Lost Ark because, man, hard bosses, I wonder which game I will play. Spoiler alert, it's not Dark Souls. Dark Souls is like easy mode, okay? Lost Ark, it's where it's at, boy. Lost Ark, it's where it's at. Again, if you want to claim yourself a hardcore gamer or anything like that by playing Dark Souls or any one of those soul games, get the fuck out of here, okay? Your achievement is the same as getting level 5 in Diablo 4, honestly. a boss has 4 different attacks. It's so hard to learn. Yeah, I bet it is for you. How now try a boss with 30 attacks. Try that and see what happens. Yeah, that's the difference.
Or at least for me. I know it's not gonna be for everyone, but like getting destroyed by Uber Lilith and actually having to, get good, like learn it. And granted, I did with Bone Spear, so I was.
Also, I will say this: Uber Lilith is not a good boss fight because it's a horrible boss fight. In fact, because half the hardness in Uber Lilith is the fact that, well, the attacks are just badly choreographed. Sometimes you just can't see them. They will randomly just sometimes insta-kill you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Most of the attacks look like the environment, so you need to squint to see them. It's very bad.
Isn't as hard as doing it like a fucking rogue or something, but it was still like you had to get good and dodge the waves and learn the mechanics and all that. And took me like 13 to 18 hours or something, right around there. It was less than 20 hours to beat the whole thing, and that was the best part of Diablo 4 out of all of it, bar none. Uber Lilith was like the peak of my enjoyability.
Yeah, I mean, I watched.
Also, dodging the waves is the only thing that you need to learn in Uber Lilith, honestly, because that's the only thing that matters. Those waves one-shot you.
Your progression there, I actually didn't. The only part I didn't see was you actually kill her, but your progression was very good on the boss. One thing that a lot of people do, one thing that's super in fashion, is the whole internet likes to talk shit about Blizzard about everything that they do.
Yep.
So they'll even make fun of Uber Lilith, this and that, and this and that. Blizzard does some things well. Like, for example, Blizzard can definitely design bosses. When, it wasn't necessarily that Uber Lilith was the problem. It was the builds that were broken. They made Uber Lilith essentially a beta testing arena where we would just test the bugs of builds.
True.
But if those had been removed, if the game came out, let's say today, without the stupid bulwark build from the druid, if that finally got nerfed or something, and there was no barber, and then every class had to fight Uber Lilith, it would be much more fair. It would be something closer to like a world first race in WoW. But over time in WoW, the raids have gotten a lot harder, and Blizzard can make bosses. So whenever they decide to do more of that content, that is something that
I don't know. Can Blizzard make bosses? Honestly, I'm gonna fundamentally disagree with that, because in World of Warcraft, bosses don't even function without an add-on telling you when a boss does something. It just doesn't function, okay? And other than an add-on telling you that boss does something, it's usually get behind a pillar or some kind of bullshit. So, it's not it's not exactly like almond intensifying,
Blizzard can do. And I think Uber Lilith was not really to blame. It was all the other bugs in the builds that was ruining the experience.
Do you think that, let's say the 5 new bosses come out. Let's say they're all Uber Lilith level, where maybe there's some bugs or some cheesy stacker builds or something to kill. Sure, there's some unethical shit. But let's just say they're 5 decently designed bosses, pretty enjoyable, more manageable for the average person. I still don't think the average guy is clearing Uber Lilith. You know what I mean? It takes a little bit of commitment, right? So
getting level 100 is pretty much the biggest commitment, honestly.
If those 5 bosses come out, we can farm Uber uniques from them. They're like pinnacle bosses in terms of level of enjoyability, and somewhat difficulty, but hopefully not as hard. Do you think 5 in-game bosses is going to be enough content for people to come back and actually, play for a season? You think that's enough?
No. The reason why is I think the answer is secretly hidden in your description of the question.
Okay.
Uber Lilith is unobtainable for the average player still.
True. Yeah.
So if they added 5 bosses at Uber Lilith's level, what content did they add for the average player? The health of the game, of any game, is determined by the fun and enjoyment of the...
I don't think they're gonna add 5 new Uber Lilith bosses. Well, first of all, it's gonna be 4 reskins and 1 new boss, okay? And it's gonna be the vampire boss or something like that. But other than that, I think they're gonna add medium level bosses and things like that. So people have something to do when they hit 50, when they hit 60, and so on. I think that's how it's gonna work.
The average player. if you add 5 more pieces that they can't reach, that is nowhere near enough.
Okay, let me explain this pretty much, right? There's gonna be 6 bosses total. Do you? I don't know how stupid Blizzard needs to. Well, they could be probably this stupid, but they really need to be stupid to not make it that one boss is doable when you hit 50, but you're supposed to actually like, get the little 70 or something like that to win against that boss. Then another boss unlocks at 60, 70, 80, 90. Because that would also create a curve where people wanna play, okay? It's gonna create a situation where people aren't like, yes, this thing is currently bugged and deals 3 trillion damage every third of a second. Yeah, I'm just gonna one-shot all those bosses with that build on level 52. Now, I think they're gonna unlock because that smoothens out the game time that people would play. At least it would work for a lot of people. Something like that would probably make it so that people at least get to level 70. I honestly think most people quit the game now, even before level 50. Because the 40 to 50 grind is just very boring, very non-rewarding, and you're just trying to get maximum experience, and that's it.
We need an endgame system like Last Epoch, or Path of Exile, or Torchlight, any of them. The second you hit the max level in the campaign, you are instantly doing an endgame activity which is rewarding you greatly. Blizzard's take on that might be, well, you can go do Nightmare Dungeons, and you can start leveling up your glyphs, and you can start getting your Paragon. It is true, but for some reason, it just doesn't quite feel as fun. It feels a little bit discombobulated. It's not connected in building an Atlas tree. It's
one of the big reasons why it doesn't feel fun even to run Nightmare Dungeons is just the fact that it's the same Nightmare Dungeons. You know, you're doing Nightmare Dungeons and you're pretty much just spending all your time in 1 or maybe 2 dungeons at best. You know exactly how the layout is gonna look. There's no RNG in them because Blizzard touted like 120 unique dungeons or some shit like that. But no, those are every single dungeon that they have is just a procedurally generated one of tiles. You know, those dungeons are not handmade. They're tile sets, and then they just RNG the tiles, and that's your 120 dungeons. And in each zone, the dungeon pretty much feels almost the exact same, because they are the same, because they have the theme of the zone that they are in, you know? And, well, that's kind of fucking boring.
It's not connected in clearing a monolith. It's not connected in upgrading a timeline and killing a boss, like in Torchlight. It's all just so random. So
would you say that... So let's say that if every time you did a Nightmare Dungeon, it gave you something towards one of these Atlas trees. Let's say they had like a Path of Exile Atlas tree type of situation where you can modify the Nightmare Dungeons or something to progress. Would that make you feel the content we're already doing repetitively, such as the Nightmare Dungeons, doesn't feel as bad anymore because you have a reason for its existence? Sort of in the same way, like maybe having the 9-to-5 job doesn't feel good, but, you know, having like a wife and kids.
No, that would not work. That could work later on, but at the moment, no. It's like, what kind of modifiers can you even get of a tree like that in Diablo 4 currently? Think about it. There's nothing. There's nothing. Oh, blade mechanics? Yeah, that's the only mechanic that there is. So that's why an Atlas 3 for Diablo just doesn't work for mapping. Because there's nothing you can add. What are you going to do? Oh, monsters drop 5% more gold? Yeah, and probably also increases how much repair costs and respec costs also costs, so it doesn't even do anything.
So you're taken care of does feel good. So like the meaning to the job somewhat has more mana. It's probably a bad cross example, but it's the one that comes to mind. So would Nightmare Dungeons be saved in their current iteration if they're rewarded something out of it that actually continued otherwise progression of the game that isn't so repetitive in nature?
My answer to that would be absolutely. And the reason why is I'm going to let you in on a secret. We might have to mute it to chat. We might have to mute it to the world. So we can't let this get out. But we do the same thing in every game. Clearing maps and clearing dungeon or clearing monoliths and in Last Epoch and clearing the timelines in Torchlight and clearing Nightmare Dungeons in Diablo is the same thing. There's slightly different variations, and Path of Exile does some interesting things, like they put like side areas and the different mechanics in it. They probably do the best job in actually trying to change up what happens when you enter in there. So props to Path of Exile for that one, but it's pretty much just the same.
And that's why it works for Path of Exile, because you can spec into what you want to find more. So that kind of works. You can see the mechanics that you want to do. Imagine how that works in Diablo 4. Oh, you can find more timed events. Oh boy, I can't wait to find more time events where I need to defeat 6 waves of demons. And you know those waves all are, as we already know. First wave, 2 succubuses. Second wave, one big demon and two succubuses. Third wave, 2 demons and 2 succubuses, and you know, it's just stupid. Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Same thing. So it is very, to me, it's very much based upon how fun it is to do that activity, the reward, and as you're alluding to, what you are striving for. How does me running these 100 Nightmare Dungeons, how does that come together in some great fashion to make me feel like I've done something great? Can I target farm here? Can I build up a power here? Da-da-da-da-da. It just does not exist for Diablo 4, but there's a system in every other game. I think that's why that's part of the reason why Nightmare Dungeons are getting killed. Another one of the reasons is because you couldn't port into them, and then when they implemented the fix that you could port into them, it didn't port you into them, it ported you outside of them.
Yeah,
and then you had to walk in.
The Starfield approach. The more loading screens, the better.
True. I actually kind of don't understand that one, because they obviously can port. The text got to be there to port you right in, right?
Yeah,
I think it
obviously.
must have just been like a bypass of thought, because I actually didn't.
Okay, so this I was gonna talk about this, but Blizzard doesn't play their own games, and it is blatantly apparent in all of their game design in Diablo 4 when you actually pay attention. Then this is a great example. The fact that when you want to teleport to a dungeon, you're teleporting outside, because the developers don't even see the difference between teleporting inside or outside a dungeon. The fact when you enter a dungeon, you need to run 10-20 seconds, so when you can finally meet the first mobs. And then when you get the second part of the dungeon, same thing. Again, do nothing for 10-20 seconds, just run in a direction. It's just a disassociation. They think it's fun, but it's not. The same thing happened with the Caged Hearts. I said this when we saw the intro for them, and we saw the first time the mechanic happens. Oh, you kill these monsters, then you need to click on the hearts, and it summons like a mini boss or something, right? I said that that's stupid because the animation is taking 10 seconds for the for the mob to spawn. It should be 1 second tops, but it's not. They needed a pretty long time to change it. Then there are the events in dungeons where you find a group of survivors, and then there's waves of enemies, and that's a pretty decent event. Only the problem is, after you finish that thing, you need to stand there for like 15 seconds and hear, "Oh, thank you for saving us," and then they drop a bunch of shit, and then the chest appears at the end. It's slow and it's stupid. The fact that Diablo 4 devs don't even understand that you need to make all of that fast, it just shows they don't play their game. It's as simple as that. They just don't.
Think anything about it until we actually started playing it. It's like a playtesting thing. I didn't actually catch that one, and then I played it, and I was like, "Oh, why? I don't like the double loading screen." Like, I teleport outside, and what would happen is I would lag sometimes because everyone's teleporting to the same Nightmare dungeon. So when the game was still somewhat popping, I'd teleport to like one of the most popular dungeons that we were refarming over and over again, and there'd be a lot of people there that actually lag. So I don't know if you experienced that at all, but that was more of like the power leveling grind thing, of the like champions demise and stuff. There'd be a lot of people there, and you start to lag. So maybe it was something that like snuck by where they weren't really thinking about the double loading, but the double loading screen seems like basically completely unnecessary.
Yeah. I think what happened here, and the internet constantly assigns this mistake to, I'm guessing, Blizzard and a lot of other developers incorrectly. A lot of people will say, oh, they just gave a band-aid fix. They didn't even think about it. They don't care, da 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 da. They thought this was good and it was actual dog shit. But actually, I think that this was maybe actually a real case of that. And the reason why is I think they realized that people were very unhappy with their main endgame system. And the whole, I know that the team internally felt very, very strongly about the open world.
I could have muted the sound of me sneezing, but this is important.
You should ride around on your mount in the open world slowly to get to the nightmare dungeons, and that gameplay experience is going to be fun. Well, it wasn't,
could be fun.
and they had to fix it immediately, which is where this kind of band-aid.
I mean, it could have been very fun. For example, how many of you do not like that random thing that happens when a bunch of skeletons ambush you when you're just going through the world? That's fun. That's pretty fun. I like it. So they had this idea that that riding to a dungeon is not going to be bad, but horse mechanics just fucking suck. Bungees, lags, stupidity, blah blah blah. Barriers were supposed to be a decent idea. That they take you out of riding and then you kill a bunch of mobs. But the problem with those barriers is, well, it's a barrier and there's 2 mobs. That seems more like work than reward. To stop and do it. It's stupid. It's like everything of that was half baked because they had kind of an idea what they want to do, and that idea maybe wasn't even that bad, honestly. But no one playtested it. There was not a single person who playtested it.
Fix came from, and it wasn't fun for a lot of reasons. The horse sucks. It gets scared all the time. It can't walk around anything. It's stuck on everything. Can't go through barricades. And the overworld activities still to this day are by far the least valuable.
I do not understand this at all, Rex. I don't get what they were thinking with this, because you made a game that doubles down on social dynamic with zero reason to have it, and then you made a game with an open world where open world shit. So it's like social is great in these games. I wish there was a reason for me to give a fuck when I see somebody in the open world. And then I wish there was a reason for me not to run the same dungeon over and over again and walk around. They put so much work into the art, the design of the open world, these cool events that are RNG that pop up out of nowhere. It's cool. But then I actually feel like I am actively being stupid if I stop to do an event. It's an event. It should be something I'm excited. Oh, yay, an event. But I actually feel like the joke's on me if I decide to do an event in the open world. I feel like I'm the idiot. So it's not like oboes matter. So I don't understand.
This is the Whispering Tree problem. The Whispering Tree is honestly the most fun mechanic in Diablo 4. The problem with the problem with the Whispering Tree is simple. It's not rewarding at all. The rewards are shit, but it is a fun mechanic. It definitely is. You do different activities. You can choose how to do them. Blah blah blah. It's technically a decent reward, but. Well, not technically a decent reward. It's just nice. You get to pick things. Do I want to do this? Oh, there's 5 things there. Oh, might as well do them all 5. Oh, maybe I want to go into the dungeon because I haven't done it yet. The Whispering Tree is technically the most fun mechanic because it is, but it's a useless mechanic because the rewards are shit.
With the point of putting so much emphasis on the social system, so much so that stash tabs are literally an issue because of it. And then we have an open world that seems to be 90% of the reason to have the game, but then we don't use either of these systems. There's not, the clan system is literally worthless. It's a friends list. So I don't know if you got a feeling on that one, but it's those are the 2 things that strike to me that I have yet to figure out. It's especially the social one, honestly. There's zero reason for anything remotely social.
I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. The point that you made, I was going to bring up 2 points. The clan system, it doesn't have any meaning. In World of Warcraft, the clan that you were in meant everything. You did the raids together. There was a lockout. You progressed together. You were ranked on a third party leaderboard together. It was literally a band of brothers and sisters just working toward a common goal every day. You become friends. Like you can make a lot of
True.
real solid relationships from the raiders and WoW if you stick together for years. This supposedly social MMO-esque Diablo 4 game not only doesn't have a social system at all in terms of a real social system like clans, but have you tried trading in Diablo 4? How would you do that? The best trading thing that I've seen
Oh,
by
boy.
far is Diablo.trade. You go to a third party website and they do all the trading for you.
Yep.
It's like, wow, this is supposed to be our outdoor tradey social Diablo, and what it has turned into is, well, people really want the instanced nightmare dungeons, and maybe they wouldn't mind doing the
True.
open world again, as you said, if it was rewarding to do so, if it didn't actively hurt you to play that way, but it does.
Well, it seems to me like the only reason to trade would be to trade like the uniques you can't get your hands on. So you have a spare Tempest Roar. You could probably get some gold for that, right? But you can't trade uniques or legendaries. So if you get a perfect row aspect and you have 15 of them, there's no reason to get the drop. Whereas in Path of Exile, I get an item and it's like, oh, I don't need this item, but this is a pretty good item. Like I know I immediately can get some currency that then I can put into my other items. So maybe if they added a crafting system.
Oh no, he's gonna say that, but yeah, trading in Diablo is kind of worthless because there's no point in trading. It's like, okay, maybe you trade a good item for a good item, that's it. But it's just bad.
Then trading might innately get better in Diablo 4 because you have reason to have yellows and craft yellows into something else or rework the items that maybe yellows have more value. But since we can't trade uniques or legendaries, the actual rare stuff doesn't matter, and I don't know when's the last time literally anyone needed to buy a yellow item in order to progress in Diablo 4. Like it's not that hard. You don't really need to trade for items. I've literally never had to trade for an item ever.
I mean, you can get 95% bis items just playing the game to 100 if you just look at the gear that drops. Yeah, you don't need to trade for anything unless it's absolutely perfect. There's something about like not being able to trade them, which impacts me personally. It probably impacts other people. This is probably a much smaller thing, but I'll bring it up since we're talking about it anyway. So I have two 100 druids. On my first 100 druid, I found 7 Tempest Roars. I was counting them because every time I found one and every time I had to go salvage it or vendor it for 200,000 gold, every druid in my chat was, they had a box of puffs next to their desk to dry their tears because every time you vendor a Tempest Roar, it just kills a druid in chat inside that's never going to get one.
True.
Then I leveled up the hardcore druid and I found 6 of them. So I averaged 6.5 Tempest Roars, 1 to 100, and I got plenty of them that's saying I'm 95 and I don't have one. I would love.
I never found it, and the thing about Tempest Roar is that's a pretty much must-have item. Without that, playing Druid sucks.
Good feeling for me, not fishing for viewers, not fishing for subs. It would just make me feel good as a person if I could say, every druid type 1 in chat, I'm gonna throw you into a random number generator. I'm gonna give one of you a Tempest Roar. Just take it. I don't want no trade. Don't give me anything. And then you can go to Chipotle for dinner and enjoy it, and everyone's gonna be happy. I would like if I get a Shaco, I'll probably wear it. But if I get another one, I would love to give it away. I mean, to me, that's fun. But you can't do that in this game.
So I saw this when we were talking about this. Someone else mentioned like, how do you feel about the 17 damage meme? You had probably the most well-known D4 meme for a minute there, being compared
That's
to the
true.
druid damage. 17 damage. That was good. You got a emote for this one too, don't you on your channel, right?
Yeah, rack 17. I gotta be honest. I just, with every fiber in my being, I just absolutely love that. I just love everything about how unimaginably stupid it is. I just look like an absolute piece of shit. I'm disgusted. Asmongold is laughing at me. The internet's laughing at me simultaneously. The internet's crying for me. It is just, it's just the best, man. I love everything about it. I'm okay with being known as a 17 damage guy. It is who.
Well, admittedly, no one knew that druids could one-shot. No, not one-shot. Three-shot. 3 attacks and you kill Lilith. What a time to be alive. 5 seconds.
Who I am.
That was a pretty good one. God, that one went everywhere right in the beginning of it.
True.
I saw
that was good.
Pretty literally everywhere. I'll put a link down to the channel. Your boy is going to go live, Rex, today, I'm assuming, because every day for 10 years, right? You're what?
Well, that was the video, it seems like. That was DM, also known better as Skittles. It is what it is. Anyway, this was Quizzer Said. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.